Hello, grade 10. Welcome back to our English class. In your previous lessons, you have learned that conducting research is the most reliable way that we can take to understand the complexities of various issues and to generate useful information which can be used in solving social problems. You were also introduced to writing a research report which primarily presents the results of your research and provides a persuasive argument to readers of what you have found. A good research report is composed of title, introduction, significance of the study, review of related literature, research procedure, analysis, conclusion, and recommendation. Today, you will further deepen your knowledge in writing a research report for this lesson is devoted in helping you acquire such knowledge about one of the important components of a research report, which is the review of related literature. As I mentioned, today's episode is all about review of related literature. And I got this lecture from Schools Division Office of Pasig City. For the most essential learning competency, you are expected to compose a research report on a relevant social issue. A brief discussion of the previous research and writings of recognized experts provides evidence that the researcher is familiar with what is already known. Since effective research must be based upon past knowledge, the review would help to preclude duplication of what is known and provide helpful suggestions for present and future investigations. And now, let us answer this question. What is a review of literature and studies? Review of related literature and studies is the major process that leads a researcher to past theory and studies. And it is expected that the result of such studies, the findings and conclusions, have benefit and relevance to the ongoing study. The review involves systematic identification, location, and analysis of documents containing information related to the research problem. It is the researcher's immediate concern to look for these sources to put the literature into some organized form and use this for the study. Let us now have the importance and function of a review of related literature and studies. Review of related literature and studies helps in a situation in which a researcher student has not decided for his topic yet. It will enable him to determine and have a good idea of the topic he is interested in through reading literature and studies such as theses, dissertations, books, and even periodicals. After having an idea of what would be the topic of the study, the review of related literature and studies is a much help to the workability of research findings in the past, as well as the theories, principles, and conclusions formulated by the experts of the preceding generations. The review enables a researcher student to narrow down the general problem area to specific researchable and well-defined manageable problem. And it also avoids an unintentional duplication of past studies. For the functions of the review of related literature and studies, let us have this. Number one, it provides the conceptual or theoretical framework of the planned research. Number two, it provides the information about past researches related to the intended study. Number three, it gives the feeling of confidence since by means of the review of related literature and studies, a researcher will have on hand all constructs related to the study. He, therefore, is an authority on the subject as far as the mastery is concerned. For number four, it gives information about the research methods used, the population, and the sampling considered, the instrument used in gathering data, and the statistical computation. For number five, it gives findings and conclusions of the past investigations, which may relate to the researcher's own findings and conclusions. Here are the components of the review of related literature and studies. Number one, related literature consisting of books, documentation, articles, which are closely related to the present study. The ideas of the author should be stated, and his surname and year of publication of his book should be included. Related studies are the second component of this chapter. It includes the ideas from the thesis or dissertations read and which have relation to the present study. The thesis writer's surname must always be indicated after each idea, as well as the year when the thesis or dissertation was written. The selected studies must also be categorized into foreign or local. Number three is the synthesis of review, which cites the similarities of the thesis or dissertations with the present study, and it should be stated. Also mention the difference of the present study from those theses or dissertations mentioned. Finally, names of the writers must be stated together with the year when these were written. It is not necessary to review all the literature in the field, particularly one is dealing with a specific research topic. What the researcher needs are the materials that have direct relevance to the research topic. The number of literature or studies to be included in the research is dependent upon the following. Letter A, availability of materials within the awareness of the researcher. Letter B, library facilities. And letter C, relevance of the research studies already done. The materials in the review are generally used in the interpretation of findings in Chapter 4. Without these readings and studies, the researcher may be handicapped in explaining certain results of the study. With them, results are meaningfully interpreted. Readers will be able to understand the intertwining of occurrences. The researcher will be able to improve the utilization of results and to see what could have caused some biases or loopholes in the results of a study. Let us now have the basic points to consider regarding literature review. Number one, it must provide a historical background of the subject to be studied. Number two, it must be adequately present any and all relevant materials that are available, show the difficulty of the problem, the research design procedures, instrument, and analysis employed by the studies being reviewed. The review should also present an appropriate integration of synthesis of the materials. For number three, the review is vital in the development of the theoretical framework. This may be done with a clear statement of assumption. For number four, it must present a summary in relation to the framework or model being considered for the study. What is distinct about the literature must be underscored. For number five, it must rely on original materials. Relying on the literature reviews done by the other researchers have serious manifestation because there is a chance that the reviewer may have interpreted the materials differently. For number six, it must include analysis of research findings, overall methodology, sampling, research designs, and method of analysis. Let us now have the use of literature review matrix. The task of writing a literature review becomes complicated when there are plenty of authors that have researched about the subject matter. When faced with this situation, how will you keep track of the information? One way to do this is to create a graphic organizer and allows you to see the different authors' ideas conveniently. One kind of graphic organizer for this is the literature review matrix. There is no one right way to create such matrix, but good matrices have common characteristics. Here are the qualities of a good literature matrix. Number one is limitation. Good matrices limit the amount of information you have to work with to write your paper. In a 15-page article, maybe only a few paragraphs pertain to your research question. Do not bother highlighting or writing down the rest of the information. Second is comparison. Besides limiting the number of ideas and the amount of text, the placement of notes on your matrix will give you a bird's eye view of how the author's ideas relate to other authors' ideas. By labeling the ideas that pertain to your question, You can see where authors agree and disagree, and where other authors ignored an idea altogether. You may want to find out why. As you fill out your matrix, themes will start to emerge. Where do disagreements arise? Which ideas seem to gain consensus among authors, and so on. Letter C is discovery. You can anticipate what ideas will emerge and label those in advance of your reading. The fourth is location. You will create a reference list as you read your articles. That is easy to do if you keep track of citations as you find the sources in electronic databases or on the internet. When you are finished, remove from the reference page any articles you did not cite in the paper. Your matrix will alert you to the sources you plan to cite. Letter E is labeling. The names of the first authors of each study appear across the top of the matrix. The names can easily be related to the full citation information. Letter F, note-taking. As you read the research, make brief notes in the blank cells about ideas that address your research question. Do include page numbers. Do not include information that does not address your question in some fashion. As you fill in the cells, you may find that some of the authors provide little useful information. You can drop those authors from your references. Letter G is expanding. The matrix will need to be expanded as you review more studies. You can expand by adding pages. If you like, you can tape pages together to create a spreadsheet. If you are proficient with Excel, you can create your matrix in Excel. You can even draw your matrix on poster paper. As you gather and read different resources about your topic, you will encounter various ideas, disagreements, methods, and perspectives which can be hard to organize in a meaningful way. A review matrix will enable you to quickly compare and contrast articles in order to determine the scope of research across time. It can help you more easily spot differences and similarities between journal articles about a given research topic. It will also help you record the main points of each source and document how sources relate to each other. These documents will allow you to compile details about your sources, such as foundational theories, methodologies, and conclusions. Begin to note similarities among the authors and retrieve citation information for easy insertion between a document. Once you have searched and analyzed the literature, you can now synthesize what you have learned and how it fits into your research project. You will then be ready to write your literature review. for this episode's written task, write your review on related literature on a relevant social issue. That's all for this episode. This is Mom Fanny Luna signing off. Happy learning. Keep safe, everyone.